Welcome to New Wave Global. I'm Rabia Mahmood. New Wave Global is an independent news site which looks at the world through a South Asian lens, and it is heavily reliant on your support and feedback. Please do subscribe, like, and engage with our work. As we speak, there is a crackdown ongoing across Balochistan and in parts of Sindh and the rest of the provinces on Baloch protesters who had aimed to gather for a national rally in Gwadar. However, over 100 participants have been arrested, according to reports, with some reportedly even disappeared as their whereabouts are unknown to their networks. And at the same time, main coastal highways leading to Gwadar and in Balochistan have been blocked. The main highways which lead to Balochistan from Sindh are reportedly also blocked. There is also the Section 144, which has been imposed in Quetta and its surroundings. And we are hearing that people have also been arrested or barred from entering the province from parts of Sindh and parts of Balochistan. At the same time, we spoke to a journalist in Gwadar earlier who reports frequently for the Friday Times and New Wave Global, and he communicated that there is an internet shutdown and a heavy deployment of security forces is in place in Balochistan. However, at the same time, we are hearing news reports that the Baloch protesters are adamant to reach Gwadar for this rally. And these protesters include families of the disappeared, it includes women protesters, children, students, and activists who are affiliated with non political movements as well. It has been organized by the Baloch Solidarity Committee. To speak more about this, we have with us Mir Muhammad Ali Talpur, who is a senior writer and a very senior activist affiliated with the Baloch Rights Campaign since the 70s. He's also an author, and he's here to speak to us more about as to why people had decided to gather in Gwadar and what is this rally for.
Baloch National Gathering of Baloch Raje Muchi, as this called it in Balochi, is it is a symbolic gesture to show to the state that we will no longer accept the injustices that you have been perpetrating against us for such a long time. We won't be taking them lying down. We will resist it peacefully. We will resist them peacefully when you pay, and that has been the norm since the Islamabad sit-in in December, January, when they went from Turbat to Islamabad and they were mistreated, and when they returned, and the people have since then have started resisting. When people have been picked up, they have come out in strength and blocked the roads, and this is a joint collective expression of anger and resentment against the state policies by all Baloch in form of a Baloch national gathering, which they chose Gwadar as a venue for the meeting for the simple reason that Gwadar epitomizes the repression and the loot of the resources of the land, of the coast, in its most blatant form. Because Gwadar is a coastal city, it is Baloch land, it has got a coast, and it's being fenced, its people are not being allowed. Otherwise also, the locals are allowed, but otherwise it was being fenced, and as an expression of resentment of the entire Baloch nation. And that is why it has been called the Baloch Raja Muchi, or the national gathering. And everybody, everywhere from Dera Ghazi Khan to Gwadar to even from Liari and Sindh, there are a lot of people who are going. And the point is that they are not being allowed. Just now, some few minutes ago, Sahar Baloch in her BBC report said that there's an unofficial curfew in Quetta's red zone and also in Gwadar city. That is, this expression of people trying to show their resentment against what the injustices is being by the state in every way. There's been images of the road being, the bridges which lead to Gwadar being blocked with containers or with a huge truck. They are being blocked. The tunnels which come from Quetta, some of the tunnels, there's put up trucks over there. Every attempt is being done to stop this Rajamuchi from being held because it is the expression of the entire Baloch people's resentment against what has been going on against the Baloch since last 75 years. This is not something which has come about out of the blue. It is 75 years of tears and blood that has been shed, that this resentment has reached the level that you see today. Otherwise, when the way they were mistreated in Islamabad, when all these relatives of the missing persons and or they returned, they got an unprecedented welcome in Quetta. And the next day, when although the government tried to impose the section 144, that unofficial curfew that they always impose when people are demanding their rights, the number of people there was unprecedented. What the political parties have been trying to do for the last 25 years haven't done even a fraction of what the BYC and Marang and all other activists have done in these few months.
True. You mentioned Maharang BYC, which is the Baloch Jagjati Committee, the Baloch Solidarity Committee, which had organized this protest. And Maharang Baloch is also a daughter of a Baloch political nationalist dissident who was disappeared, and then his dead body was found. So there is this sort of cyclical nature of this repression. However, when the children of these people or their families who had decided to engage with state through peaceful means, as we saw in Islamabad, but that is one example. We know what had happened in Karachi a year and two before that, that the women and unarmed citizens were dragged on the roads by Islamabad police, prior to that by Karachi police twice. And you mentioned the red zone. There have been stories and visuals that we had seen over the past few years of shelling of protesters, women and children, including specifically in the red zone. So there is this evidence, also which is available of this kind of targeting. There's a lot of human rights in organizations who have raised this. There is a lot of documentation. In fact, the state's own commission, which is quite faulty, the Commission Against Enforced Disappearances, according to human rights experts in the country, there is a problem with the commission. And yet their numbers are quite high as well of enforced disappearances. But this is one violation. And yet the state keeps on resorting to targeting of people in this way. And the political solution and the kind of solution that it looks like that these people are looking for, these young men and women, because why else would they engage with the state? I mean, going to Islamabad for a sit-in means that you have gone to the state authorities, right? To the courts where the cases have been pending for years. And yet the response is of more pickups, more repression. In fact, we were looking at some student leaders who had previously been forcibly disappeared and then they're arrested again. Why is that so in your view, briefly?
Whenever and whatever the Baloch have been demanding has been met with either stone deaf silence or with very negative response, even from the commissions which they have set up, even the political parties in which Akhtar Mengal was also the head of the commission that they had made. Nothing came out of that because those who are deciding that are picking up people, they do not want to engage with the Baloch as a negotiate with them. They think that they can solve the issue by disappearing people, by killing people, as has been going on. There have been, it is now the people who are picked up from the city, there's a protest and there people come out there. But in say when people are picked up in the Murray area or in the Bukti area, which are away quite away from the media's eye or from even the social media eye, there nothing happened. So there's no attempt on the part of the state to engage with Baloch. They were forced recently, when after there was a demonstration against Zahir Baloch's disappearance in Quetta. There was a sit-in over there, and that sit-in was attacked because they were going to what is what you may call wrongly called red zones. I don't know how they demark those red zones. People were going to protest, show their resentment and protest that why the Zahir Ahmad had been picked up. There was a lot of violence against Baloch women, against Baloch men. There was firing and everything. And in response to that, on that very day, on the 11th, people numbering in thousands went into the red zone and they did a sit-in over there. On the 12th, they again went in. Another major sit-in was there again, and the state administration, the local administration, then came and talked to Marang and others and the family of the Zahir Ahmad, and they were given a 15 days period in which they would solve the issue of Zahir Ahmad. But that's only the single instance where the administration has agreed to talk to the people. Now,
go ahead.
What today you see, the way people have come, the way people are going and gathering and being here, they have lost fear. They don't fear the state anymore. Otherwise, people, in 2013 and 14, when Mama Kadir and was doing the long march with the relatives of the people, missing person, you must be remembering that. I was part of it, and the young boys, they used to hold the placards in front of the face so that they are not identified. Now people are not fearing them, and I may be exaggerating, I may be overstating it, but this is a civil insurrection going on today. It's a public insurrection, very peaceful one. But the point is that it is not being heeded. It is again being tried to suppress. They are trying to suppress it by force, by blocking the roads, by. But
Sir, we have one very quick last question, and we want to. I know this is not a conversation to be had in this brief way, but one question about, like you're saying, that people are not they don't fear anymore, because I've looked at some of the victims of past atrocities who decided to be a part of this in a very public way. This means that those young men and women, especially the young men who were picked up before and who've had cases against them, do not fear what might come their way anymore. And these are these are associated with other movements as well, these activists. It's not just the Baloch rights that they stand for. Sometimes they've stood up for the Pashtuns, they've stood up for repression of journalists elsewhere in Pakistan. So just a question, that why is it that we are seeing these numbers, and we have before the election, we also saw big numbers of people coming out, as we call them, the peripheries, on the peripheries, and yet the mainstream parties like the PMLN and others, whenever they're in power, whenever they're in opposition, they sit with the Baloch, but when they're in power, they do not do anything to address these issues, especially in the federal capital. So very quickly, why is that so, and what is the way forward? Very, very briefly. Thank you.
The mainstream political parties, which they change the musical chairs business that goes around and these parties. They wear Balochi clothes and come and sit with the protesters when they are not in power. But when they are in power, they just do not even give a thought to the Baloch people. They do not even get in touch with Baloch people to ask about them, or the problems that they are facing, or the repression that they face. It is, I would simply say that the parties, the political parties, all mainstream political parties, that I would also include those parties, nationalist parties that are in Balochistan as well. They are indebted to the state, to put it mildly, to the Rawalpindi. They are indebted.
Yes.
And,
Yes.
and they always look for the share in the pie. They are not concerned with people. Now, just a small example: a state or a government which denies people the use of social media is the reason. Why do they deny it? Because they consider all people of Pakistan their enemy, and you don't you don't try to bring welfare to your enemies. It's a attitude of the state as a whole towards the people of Pakistan as a whole. I would say as a whole, Baloch being especially under the being hammered all through the 75 years, but the state now considers people its enemies, and it just doesn't trust people any longer. So when you don't trust people, you won't do anything for them. It's just a simple, what you may say, elite which is looking after its own interests. People, they may go and jump into the sea, they don't care.
Mr. Talpur, thank you so much for your insights and your commentary on what is happening in Balochistan and rest of the country at the moment. Thank you to our viewers for watching New Wave Global. Khuda Hafiz.